Have you ever wondered what history lies beneath the red sandy shores of Prince Edward Island, Canada's smallest province?
Or have you ever stopped to consider what life was like for the island's population nearly 300 years ago?
Welcome to the Acadian question, where the history of Prince Edward Island isn't just stories in dusty old textbooks. It's a living conversation. My name is Kristina.
And my name is Michael. Over the span of the next 4 episodes, we're going to explore the history of PEI, or as it was formerly known, Ile St. Between the years of 1720 and 1758. At the heart of our story is the Gallant family, one of the oldest and most well-known families on the island.
In discovering the Gallant family and the history of Prince Edward Island, we will hone in our focus on the 1752 census of Ile St. John.
Okay, so first things first, we need to talk about this census. This census was conducted in 1752 by the King's Surveyor, Sieur de la Roque, and it encompasses every French settlement on Ile St. Jean. For the purpose of our discussion, we will be focusing on Rivière du Nord-Est, with a brief focus on Port-la-Joie in previous years.
You know what, Kristina, I noticed in the census that there was probably 5 or 6 Gallants mentioned, and I'm wondering if we look deeper into the Gallant family, maybe it would tell us a bit more about the history of Ile St. Jean.
That's a really good question, because from a brief glimpse at the census data, it's clear that there's a significant number of them present, and they seem to be well established in the area. By exploring the area through the perspective of one family, we might be able to uncover what life was truly like for Acadians in Ile St. Jean during a somewhat tumultuous period of time in their history.
I know someone that did a bit of research on the Gallant family. Maybe she can enlighten us on how the Gallant's presence on the island can tell us more on Ile St. Jean. Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Lauren, and honestly, I'm a total history nerd with a big love for digging into the hidden stories behind these old places. It's wild how much of what happened back then still shapes the world we know today. There's just something so cool about peeling back the layers of time to uncover how people survived, thrived, and even failed. It's sort of like a mix of detective work and storytelling, and I'm really excited to share it with you all. And Ile St. Jean, you ask? It's a gold mine for this kind of stuff. The history here is so rich, it practically jumps out at you.
Was it called anything else before Ile St. Jean?
Yes, actually, the geographical landmass, now known as PEI, wasn't always PEI. The Mi'kmaq that lived on the land prior to any trace of colonization referred to the island as a petwick, which means cradle on the waves. And after this, the island became a haven for French settlers who named their settlement Ile St. John, turning it into a strategic point for economic activities like fishing and trading.
What brought the French there?
Fast forward to 1713, when the Treaty of Utrecht handed Acadia over to the British. Ile St. Jean stayed under French control, making it a safe haven for Acadians who didn't want to deal with the British rule. The island became the heart of Acadian culture up until 1758.
So what happened in 1758?
The island became the heart of Acadian culture. When everything went sideways, that's when the deportation hit, scattering the Acadians and breaking up their community. And this brings us to Michel Hache de Gallant, one of the first and most important players in this story.
Michael and I have definitely noticed the surname Gallant on the census, but I don't think that we saw anyone named Michael.
And you wouldn't, as Michael unfortunately passed away before the census's creation, but his descendants are the Gallants living along the river in 1752. Born in 1663 in Acadia, and unfortunately, he had kind of a rough start. His parents died when he was young, so he ended up being raised by Jacques Leneuf de la Poiterie in Trois-Rivières. Later, he worked for Jacques' son in Beaubassin, where he became a trusted business agent, a militia captain, and eventually earned the nickname Gallant for being super brave.
So he was really accomplished then.
He was. You could kind of picture him as the kind of guy who would manage a settlement by day and win a colonial sword fight by night.
Wow.
Cool, right? Let's just say Michael didn't waste any time building his legacy. He married Anne Cormier in 1690, and together they had 12 kids. After the Treaty of Utrecht, things got shook up. Michael decided to pack up his family and head to Ile St. Jean in 1720. They were actually the first Acadians to settle in Port-la-Joie, and Michael became a key figure in shaping the community.
How do you think he shaped the community?
Well, I guess you could think of him as the town MVP. So, when Michael moved to Ile St. Jean, he didn't just settle. He made waves. As the port captain and harbor master, he was running the show. His family ended up owning most of the properties in Port-la-Joie. By 1734, his kids had taken over huge plots of land, cementing their status as big shots in the colony.
How did you figure all of this out?
I spent a lot of time reading the census that you have, as well as I did my own research. And what I found that was super cool was Michael's own home was the dream setup for the time. He had a 2-cozy-room wooden house with a full farm of crops and livestock. He was basically living the colonial good life.
So for a 17th century Acadian, he was doing pretty good for himself.
Unfortunately, Michael's story didn't exactly end on a high note. On April 10th, 1737, he fell through the ice at the mouth of the North River and drowned. His body wasn't found until July, and he was buried in Port-la-Joie. But even though his life ended tragically, his story didn't stop there. What's truly remarkable is how Michael's influence extended far beyond his time. His leadership in establishing Port-la-Joie is a vibrant community, his role as a harbor master, and his ability to navigate the challenges of colonial life set the foundation for future generations. Michael wasn't just a survivor, he was a builder, and he created a legacy of strength and community that his descendants would carry forward in ways he likely never imagined.
What was the legacy his descendants carried on?
Well, they kept things going strong. They survived the Acadian expulsion and continued to make their mark on history. From enduring displacement to rebuilding their lives in new land, the Gallants demonstrated a resilience that's nothing short of inspiring. Thank you so much for letting me share Michel Hache de Gallant's story today. It's incredible to think how one person's determination and vision helped build a community and set the stage for future generations. I really hope you enjoyed learning about Michael and his fascinating life as much as I did sharing it. Although this is where my time on the Acadian question ends, I know the journey into the Gallant story is just getting started. There's so much more to uncover, and I'm excited to see where the next episodes will take you. Thank you so much for having me, Kristina and Michael. And to everyone listening, stay curious and keep exploring the incredible stories that make history come alive.
Thanks so much for joining us, Lauren. I think that this was a perfect starting point for our exploration into the Gallant family and how through them we can get a glimpse of 18th century life in Ile St. Michael himself does not appear on our census, though the family's story didn't begin in 1752. Michel Hache de Gallant was present for Ile St. Jean's beginning, so it seems only fitting that we began with him.
In the next episode, we will look into the lives of the direct descendants of Michel Hache de Gallant, how they navigated the migration Rivière du Nord-Est, and how their experiences reflect the political and socioeconomic climate of Ile St. Jean, leading to the expulsion of the Acadians in 1758.
Once again, I'm Kristina.
And I'm Michael.
And thank you for listening to the Acadian
Question.
Question.